Good afternoon and welcome back to another ironic introduction to another video. Today I had the last Dev Diary, a contest evolved. We're just going to smash through these bullet points and talk about them a little bit by bit. So first off, we have quality life changes, sell from stash, champion tag filtering, dual targets, and dual target fight again. So these are solid choices of quality of life improvements. I really hope sell from stash actually is worth doing, because if it's still a lot of button pressing, it doesn't really matter. For me, it's not so much the screen changing so much as it is like constantly having to press like an infinite enough amount of buttons. But yeah, it's still a good feature. Glad to see it. Champ tag filtering is good, but Amp My is just so good. I have a hard time believing this is gonna, be better than that. But it is nice to have it in-game. That's something we need in-game for people who don't use third-party resources. And then dual targets, of course, are amazing. Hopefully they add some extra features more than just fight again. But I like those quality of life changes. Definitely some good adds. They talk about new mechanic prototypes. So root is essentially like your character is stuck in place, or the enemy character could be stuck in place, but it can do everything else. I think this would be really cool if they provide it on a champion who maybe does it intentionally. Like, you could dash back, hold block to root, but while rooted, you're unstoppable or something. I think that would be really cool. Or while rooted, you have bonus damage or gain a fury. I think that would be really cool, but also like on the form of a node. Like, if you dash back twice, you're rooted in place, kind of like Caltrops. But this time, you would be punished in the form of not being able to move. I think that's a really clever way to play it, because you could still, light attack, intercept, or parry or block or throw your specials as well. This mechanic seems interesting, so I'm interested to see that enter the game. Volume Trigger, which is just a really weird name, is an AoE trigger. So landmines, healing pads, spiked walls, these are all really cool, and I look forward to seeing how they implement it, but I really hope they change the word Volume Trigger, because it just doesn't make sense to me, or at least explain why they call them Volume Trigger. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I think they mean volume size, not volume noise. But either way, I'm not a huge fan. They want to introduce fight replays in order to have like real-time data, so that's kind of interesting. It's neat, but like phone recording works fairly well. I know not for everybody, but that's something I hope isn't like super big on the push, but it'll be a nice addition to any game, especially like MCOC, where it is really fun to share your moments with other people. So I do look forward to seeing that, depending on how they implement it. It just might be easier for them to work directly with or recommend other third-party apps than introduce it in the game. That's just my thought, but we'll move on to Strikers. So essentially, Strikers is going to be kind of like a tag team feature, where essentially you can use additional power once you go over the overload on power to have people come in. In this case, it looks like Gambit jumps in and does some damage out. Unfortunately, there's no actual damage numbers, so we don't get to see any of that. And it looks like it's a chain combo more than anything else. For this, it's neat. I think it could be really cool. So maybe you can borrow one of their special attacks, or they can land a few basic hits, or combo and intercept a tricky heavy attack. I think that would be really neat. I hope it comes in the form of adding utility, because a lot of champions have utility-based specials or utility-based heavy attacks or intercepts and all those kinds of things. So it'd be really cool to like have Clairvoyant be your tag team champ, right? And the enemy gains a buff, and then you tag her in and she jumps in and she triple nullifies real quick. That would be pretty freaking dope. So that's a neat feature. I can't wait to see how it comes out, but it sounds like it's really deep in the works, so I'll wait in the meantime. They talk about Incursions. So Incursions, I really like the way they set this up. So in the next 3 months, essentially, they are going to remove the link from the first fight, which is going to allow us to swap. This is actually one of the things I asked for when I talked about updating Incursions, so that's a really good add, just because I felt like they disincentivized swapping out by making it so that you were punished for it, and I just felt like by having an additional timeout, there was already punishment enough. So yeah, I really do like this as well. I hope they remove the timeout or reduce timeouts, etc., so you're not as punished as heavily for swapping out and using multiple champions in an Incursions push. But I do think this is a nice little add. They're also going to increase the purchase limit for 5-star Incursions crystals. and add 6-star shards as a purchase option. So those are nice. I hope they do a little bit more. This is all they mention, and they don't say like and more, but I really hope they do more. Incursion store needs a little more than this, in my opinion. But you know, I think just adding 6-star shards will add some hype to it, but I think it needs to be more than just the store update. We need milestone updates to be a little more effective for people all around. Additionally, in the next 6 months, we're going to see new hacks. So I think this is really cool. I don't see any point in really talking about those because it's 6 months out, so I'm sure all of these are highly subject to change. But new hacks in general I think are really, really cool. More than that, I'd like to see more like selectivity or option-based hacks. Right now it's very, very RNG based, and I don't like that. I'd like to have more control of it. So I think that would be interest as well. But they're also going to have tiered hacks. Well, this is cool. So I think that is exactly what I was just asking for. Sorry, as I move on to reading the next bit. So tier 3 is the baseline, the hacks we know now. Tier 2 will be more powerful but less options, and tier 1 will be most powerful but with the least options when choosing. Okay, so just in my opinion already, I can tell you that tier 1 hacks are already going to be the priority. Because even if there's less options to choose from, I actually feel like that's better. I feel like having less options means less RNG, and less RNG means you can more consistently bring in specific champions to optimize off of hacks. So yeah, I think that's super cool, but as long as the tier 1 hacks are actually like beneficial, I feel like that's where people will stack the most. So that'll be pretty awesome. And then in the next 12 months, they want to introduce something called firewalls, a checkpointing system for friends who play together regularly. Essentially, it'll be increments of 5 zones where players will be able to disable a firewall. In doing so, partners will be able to start their next run at the zone number for the associated firewall. So it's essentially just a nice little save point. This is far off, but is a really cool feature. I would love to skip the initial sectors or zones just because like those are where the drag is. It feels like you're just kind of limping through, and then you escalate super fast to the higher zones, and then it's crazy. So I think that would be pretty cool. A themed boss sounds awesome. Matchmaking sounds cool. All this sounds really, really cool. I don't like that champion refresh timer expiration. Automatically refreshing after 5 days of each event is within 12 months. Like, I would like to see that within 90 days. Like, I just don't see any reason not to implement that within 90 days. Yeah, just a small thing. Yeah, actually, that's kind of a big thing. I'd really like to see that changed way sooner. No zone, no cooldown. In an effort to mitigate issues around players quitting at the very start of a run, champions are not put on cooldown if a run is concluded without completing a zone. Yeah, see, both of these things, 90 days. Both of these things, 2 weeks. Like, okay, maybe no zone, no cooldown might have some coding implementations behind it, so I can understand that one taking a little bit longer. But champion refresh timer, that could be a baseline expectation of that could be implemented tomorrow. You just change the timer from X day, however long it is now, to 3 days or 3.5 days or something. I don't know. Just a thought. And then we have some within 12 months stuff, and I just don't care. If it's more than 12 months or potentially within 12 months away, it's too far for me to care. I love the concept of leaderboards. I do think we need that in Incursions, so hopefully that comes soon. We're going to see arena improvements, and I do think it's important to touch on here that they specifically mentioned that arena is a grind mode. Kabam is fully aware this is a time-centric mode. So if you're someone who's like, I want arena to be faster, or I want arena to not be so grindy, like, you're in the wrong place, fella. I hate to say it, I hate to be that person, but like, there are other parts of the contest you can enjoy. And while I do think we need alternatives to arena, if you are doing arena, you are settling down for a relatively mind-numbing arena grind to get, you know, relatively minimum amounts of resources. I think these other changes they do bring up here are really, really good, but that's something you should know about arena, is it's meant to be grinded, and as a result, it should be fairly, you know, fair to grind. So in the next 90 days, they want to implement consistent AI. I love this. I definitely want to see that, as well as improved featured arena rank rewards. So they're doubling the top end bracket, which is nice, but like 150 to 300 with the ever-growing pool of players, that just feels like a miss to me. I feel like 300 is not enough here, but if in the next 90 days we double it to 300, and then in the next 180 days it doubles or moves up to 450, I'd be a little more reasonable or understanding. So this is a step forward in the right direction, not enough, but it's a good step. They're also going to be increasing the rewards for near misses. Would love this. I think this would be amazing. Honestly, I think like top 300 get the champion in the 5-star arena, and then like top 400, right, get the basic version, right, where you can't dupe them. You can just get like, or you only get 1 sig when you dupe them. I think that would be a nice way to implement a higher bracket range and kind of accommodate for near misses. Because then if you miss the 400 mark, well, like they've already accommodated for near misses, so you're just way out the park. And then we have 3-star feature champions. This is a really good ad. They want to add 3-star versions of the feature champions and the arena milestones. So I think that's a really solid ad. I don't see any other updates to milestones here, so hopefully we see some changes there as well. Within 12 months, we're going to see auto help, improved boosts UI, cached filtering to make it so you can filter between arena matches. That's pretty cool. That way they only reset when you close the game, so that's solid. No more of that like, oh, I DC'd, I'm SOL kind of moment. Auto select, essentially to choose the next 3. This is a nice little less buttons to have to press ad. I think that's a good quality of life change. And then mitigate the massive PI differentials. So this is essentially death matches. And 12 months is like a really long timeline on that. I'm not surprised. It's just a really long timeline, and that's super unfortunate because I think between like this, the death matches, and the consistent AI, I'd say those are like the 2 biggest pain points in arena outside of rewards, and rewards obviously are a finicky place, so I totally understand that. So I would like to see this one get just a little more emphasis, but hey, small steps, small steps. I totally understand. They want to introduce an arena alternative. They don't have a ton of information on this, but it's probably going to be a solo mode, so I think that's really nice. It'll be like a solo competitive, which they will talk a little bit, but I think that'll be cool as well. We have some social progression, including a new mode. So the new mode will be a solo competitive, and they want this to be significantly present based on the summoner. So I'm wondering if it's going to be like us getting choose nodes and enhancements and then placing to do indirect PvP, because like they mentioned synchronous PvP is something that isn't MCOC, and I totally agree. This game is very hardcore RPG fighting game style, so it just doesn't make sense for you to jump in and PvP someone else, because you'll both just end up holding block for like a really long time, and it'll have a weird developed meta. It just won't make a lot of sense because it'll be completely centric about outplaying your opponent, and I'm just not a fan because it won't be actual input centric, it'll be champion centric, and that's not a good time. It'll be a lot of RNG, a lot of did you get luckies kind of moments, and I honestly just foresee a lot of like Quake, anti-Quake, anti-Quake meta, right? Like rock, paper, scissors, and then like random rolling, and that's just not fun. So yeah, competitive mode sounds cool for solo. They want it to be a new meta, a new option to prove your skill that's not Alliance War, with rankings and leaderboards and stuff. And this is really, really cool. But again, it just seems like it's really far off. They're talking 2021. So we'll reserve the rest of our thoughts there. And then they end with a nice little closing here of content, community, and creativity. So yeah, this is the new update. Lots of really good stuff. I love seeing Incursions and Arena on the list. It just looks far out. So we'll reserve the rest of our opinions until later, closer to the deadline. That said, as always, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.